Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, guys. Welcome to our lesson today. We will study lesson 2, reading, page 50 and 51. Before reading, what sports we are going to talk about?
Basketball,
Yes.
football, volleyball.
And volleyball. Very good. Thank you, Riyad. And here is a question. When and where was the first set of football rules put? Let's listen to the first part about football, then we will answer this question. Listen.
Play ball. Football. Forms of football have been played for thousands of years by various civilizations. As far back as 2500 BCE, the Chinese played a form of the game and called it tsu chu. The natives of the Pacific Islands played the game using their hands and feet, and they used coconuts and animal bladders as balls. The Inuits of northern Canada played football on ice and used balls filled with caribou hair and grass. Other Native Americans played on fields that had enough space for 1,000 players to be playing at the same time, and matches usually lasted for more than one day. The games were so rough that the players often got broken bones. In Mexico and Central America, people invented the rubber ball and played in courts 40 to 50 feet, 12 to 15 meters long, surrounded by walls several feet high. In the middle of each wall there was a stone with a hole in the middle or a wooden ring, and the idea was for players to hit the hard rubber ball through the hole or ring. But it was not until 1863 in England that the first set of rules was put together to make football the game it is today. Football was spread throughout the world by British sailors and settlers, and all major innovations in the game, such as leagues, professionalism, and international matches, originated in England.
Again, when and where was the first set of football rules put? Okay, Ayman?
Okay, in 1863 in England,
Yes.
that first set of rules of football.
Very good, Ayman. Thank you. Of course, in 1863 in England, here in this part. Okay, now let's identify the important words or difficult words here. Here are some difficult words. Civilizations, by various civilization. Various means several society, people who live in a place, okay, are civilizations. And they used coconuts. This is the coconuts. And bladders. Bladders is a bag of leather or rubber that can be filled with air. This is called bladders. They used it as a ball at beginning or in the beginning. The Inuits are the people who lived in North Canada, and caribou, this is a kind of animal look like the deer, okay, is called caribou. And settlers are the immigrants, okay, the people who settle in a place, especially the places which have few numbers of people, okay, are called settlers. Okay, let's listen to the second part about basketball. But here is a question first. How many players of the basketball team in the early days? Listen and find the answer to this question. Listen.
Basketball. In 1891, Dr. James A. Naismith, a physical education teacher at a school in Springfield, Massachusetts in the United States, was asked to create a game that could be played indoors during the harsh winters. So Naismith put up 2 peach baskets on opposite walls of the gymnasium and got his class of 18 students to play a game of basketball. The team that dropped the ball into the basket more times won. At first, a football was used,
But in 1894, it was decided that the ball should be 7 inches, 81 centimeters, around, and weigh 17.6 ounces, 500 grams. In spite of all the changes that have taken place since then in the game of basketball, the size of the ball has remained the same, but the weight has increased to 21 ounces, 600 grams. The baskets used in early games had the bottoms in them, and after each goal, someone had to climb a ladder in order to get the ball out and put it back into play. In 1906, open baskets were introduced, which allowed the ball to pass through, and as a result, the pace of the game became faster. In the beginning, no backboards were used either. Therefore, fans sitting behind the basket would push away the ball when the opponent was going to score. Also in the early days, each team was made up of 9 players. It wasn't until 1897 that the 5-player team became official.
Okay, again the question. How many players of the basketball team in the early days? Okay, Riyad?
5 players.
5 players
each
now,
team.
but I speak about the early days, Riyad.
9 players.
9 players, yes. In the early days, they were 9 players. Thank you, Riyad. Okay, let's see some difficult words in this part. Here, the word backboards. Backboards, this is the surface of wood which behind the basket is called backboard, okay? And opponent. Opponent. In sport, a person on the opposing team, okay? Or competitors. Okay, next part about the volleyball. And the question here, what rules and techniques that the volleyball players have to observe? Let's listen and answer to this question. Listen.
Volleyball. Volleyball was officially included in the Olympic Games in 1964. It began as an indoor sport created by William G. Morgan, a physical education director, in 1895. The game borrowed characteristics from tennis and handball and was originally designed for older players. Volleyball is played on a court divided by a net. The game begins with a team player serving the ball, tossing it in the air and hitting it with his hand or arm over the net and into the other team's court. The receiving team must prevent the ball from falling on the ground. Each team is allowed to touch the ball 3 times before hitting it back over the net. Individual players may only touch the ball once. Each turn after serving is called a rally. Each team tries to ground the ball on the opponent's court and win the rally. If a team commits a fault, it loses. Common faults include a double hit by the same player, grounding the ball outside the opponent's court, missing the net or touching it during the game, a net foul, and a foot foul, when the foot of the player who is serving crosses over the boundary line or the court. Players have to observe a considerable number of rules and develop techniques such as spiking and blocking that require mastery of the vertical jump so players can hit the ball when it's above the top of the net.
Okay, the question again, what rules and techniques that the volleyball players have to observe? Okay, Ayman?
Speaking and blocking.
Excellent. Spiking and blocking. Very good, Ayman. Thank you. Of course, spiking and blocking. Okay, let's identify the words here. Difficult words here. Tossing. Okay, tossing means throwing the ball. Commits a fault. Commits a fault means to break the rules or make a mistake. And boundary line is the line that marks the edge of the court. Court is the playground of the volleyball or tennis. The line that marks the edge of the court or each team's area. Okay? And the word considerable number. Considerable number means great number. Spiking means hit the ball forcefully so that it moves downward. Okay? Okay, let's read the first paragraph. Who will start? Okay, Ayman, start.
Okay, football. Forms of football have been played for thousands of years by virgins civilization as far various
Yes,
civilization
yes.
as far back as 2500 BCE. The
PCE means
Chinese
before the born of Christ. يعني قبل الميلاد. Okay. The Chinese, yes, go on.
The Chinese played a form of the game and it's called Chu. The natives of the Pacific Islands played the game using their hands and feet, and they used contents and the animal bladed as well.
Coconuts, as we said,
Coconut-
this is a kind, okay,
Okay,
something look like the ball, okay, and animal.
and animal bladers as well. The units of northern Canada played football on ice and used ball filled with turbo, hair, and grass. Other Native Americans played on a field that had enough space for 1,000 players to be playing at the same time, and the match usually lasted for more than one day. The games were so raw that the players often go broken bones. In Mexico and Central America, people invited the rubber ball and played in carts 40 to 50 feet, uh,
Equal
12 to
12 to
15
15
feet
meters. Yes.
long, rounded by wall several feet high. In the middle of each wall, there was a stone with a hole in the middle of wedding ring, and the idea was for the players to hit the hard rubber ball that the hole or ring. But it was not until 1863 in England that the first set of rules was put together to make football a game it is today. Football was spread uh, through the,
Throughout the
throughout
world. Spread throughout the
throughout
world
the
means
world.
extended. Yes. Extended in all the world by British sailors. Yes.
Okay, by British sailors and sisters, and all major inventions in the game, such as leads, performer, professional.
Professionalism from the word professional. Okay. يعني أصبحت
Okay,
احترافية. Yes. And international
uh, and
matches
and international match originated in England.
originated. Take care. Originated here. The verb originated means started or began in England. Okay. Thank you, Ayman. Now, can you tell me in what ways was football in the early days different from now? Okay, Ayman?
Okay, in the past we have 1,000 players to play at the same time, and now we have to have the 11 players in the team. In the past, the game was more than one day, and now it's just 1 hour and a half. In the past,
What about the ball?
okay,
The shape of the ball, Ayman. Is it different now?
yes,
In the past, it was.
in the past it was a rubber ball, uh, and now
Now it's made of rubber, okay? But in the past, I think it was different. It was filled with caribou hair and the grass, right?
Okay.
Yes. Now it's rubber filled with air. Okay, thank you, Ayman. And the playground itself was different. In the past is enough for 1,000 players, but now only 11 players in the team, in each team. Okay, thank you, Ayman. Now let's read the second paragraph. Okay, Muhammad, the second paragraph about basketball.
In the, okay. In 1891, Dr. James Naismith, a physical education teacher at school in Springfield, Massachusetts, in
Yes,
United
this is
States,
a name of a town or city, no problem, in the United States, yes.
was asked to create games that could be played indoor during the harsh winter.
Yes,
So,
indoor
Naismith,
is opposite to outdoor, okay? So they can play it inside, okay? So,
so Naismith, so Naismith put up to pitch basket on both side walls of the gymnasium at
gymnasium,
good
and got his,
of 18 students
yes, to play.
to play a game of basketball. The team that dropped the ball into the basket more time won. At first, a football was used, but in 1894, it was decided that the ball should be 32 inches, 81 centimeters, around and weight 70.6 ounce, 500 grams. In spite of all the changes that have taken place since in the game of basketball, the size the ball has remained in the same, but the weight has increased to 91 ounces, 600 grams.
Okay, that's enough,
The
Muhammad. Thank
baskets
you.
and
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Muhammad. Answer true or false. Number one. Although football had been played for hundreds of years, the set of rules for the current game was only established in 1863. True or false? Yes, Riyad?
Oh,
True, yes. And number two? Yes, Muhammad? If the native?
if the native Americans had played on regular sized football fields, there wouldn't have been enough space for all the players.
True or false?
True.
True, yes. Thank you, Muhammad. Number three. Okay, Riyad.
in Central America, the idea was for a player to hit the ring with the ball. Ball.
False, yes, not to hit. Okay, thank you, Riyad. Number four, before basketball, people weren't used to playing football games indoors during the hard winter in the United States. Yes, true. Number five, yes, Abdullah.
Number five, in the early days of basketball, the game ended as soon as one of the players managed to drop the ball into one of the baskets. False.
False, yes. Thank you, Abdullah. And the last one, yes, Yusuf. I hope you fixed your mic.
Each, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I hear you. Yes, Yusuf.
Okay. Each team tries to win the rally by grounding the ball on each other's court. True.
True, yes. Very good. Thank you, Yusuf. Now, discussion. What's your favorite sport? Describe how it is played. Are you a fan of any particular team? What do you do when your team wins? And who is the most popular sports star in your country? What do you think about sports celebrities being looked upon as a role models? Nowadays, sports like football and basketball are big business and generate billions of dollars all over the world. What do you think about sports as a business? What would you do if you were a famous sports star and earned a lot of money? How would you behave? The passion for sports can sometimes result in violence. What can be done to prevent that? Okay, you can answer these questions written, then we will discuss it inshallah next lesson. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and see you next lesson inshallah. Goodbye.